Hey Wargamers, today I want to talk about the XV9 Hazard Battlesuit. It's one of several battlesuits that are in the Imperial Armor Index Xenos book. That's what we're going to be working out of today. And it's a really nice complement to several of the other units in the Tau Army. And we'll get into that in a minute. But before we do, I want to say thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. That way you don't miss any upcoming unit reviews, battle reports, anything like that. Alright, so, like I said, we're working out of the Imperial Armor Index. Hazard suits are basically like beefy crisis suits. They have more wounds, they can take stronger weapons, more weapons, and support systems. So they have a clear niche in my mind compared to crisis suits or other types of battle suits. Let's start with the profile though. So they have movement 8, which should be expected, weapon skill 5 up, 4 up, ballistic skill, strength 5, toughness 5, 5 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a 3-up save. So you can see how that's very similar to a crisis profile, but just a little bit better in a couple regards. It's also pretty similar to a crisis suit in every other respect in terms of its baseline rules. It has the same type of special rules, and it can take drones. Notably though, a hazard suit can take up to 4 drones each, as opposed to 2 for a crisis suit. So for each hazard suit you can bring up to 4, and you can have up to 3 hazard suits in a unit. An important note here too, though, is that in the Imperial Armor books, they word things slightly differently than in the standard indices. So here it's +1 power per drone that you take, as opposed to just saying +1 power in the standard index. And then additionally, it says, like you can take abilities from the support systems. So the wording is slightly different. And in the case of the drones, it makes a big difference into how you actually calculate the power level of the unit. So keep that in mind. The one special rule that is different for hazard suits is that they have this cool thing called photon casters, and they are pretty good. In the past, I've kind of snubbed this type of ability, but basically what it does is it subtracts 2 from the charge range of any unit trying to charge the hazard suit. But I think in this case in particular, it works out pretty darn well. And we'll talk more about what types of weapons really are able to leverage that. The hazard suit comes stock with 2 double-barrel burst cannons, which are exactly what they sound like. They're Assault 8 weapons, Strength 5, no AP, 1 damage. So basically 2 burst cannons strapped together. And then you can upgrade that to 3 different specialized weapons. But really, I think the burst cannon is the way to go, and here's why. So for the burst cannon, you're getting a high volume of shots that are reasonable strength, and you can pair them with a support system relatively well. Clearly, the advanced targeting system here is going to be a big winner when you pair it with the double barrel burst cannon. So that gives you 16 strength 5 minus 1 AP shots per hazard suit, and that's a lot. That can do a lot of damage. And it also pairs well with those photon casters that I was just mentioning. If you drop this guy down right at 18 inches, it's almost like he's 20 inches away, which means that anything that is trying to charge it is going to have a really hard time. So 20 inches is still a big difference, even though things move a lot quicker in 8th edition. There are lots of things that move 12 inches, 16 inches, and so unless you're going against something that's moving 16 inches, you probably are not going to be charged. Most things, move 6 inches, 8 inches, something like that. And so that's still going to be a 12-inch charge if they move 8 inches. And the things that have 12-inch movement probably aren't going to be the things you're targeting with this anyway. They're probably going to be already up against your battle lines, and you're going to be using this guy to hit backfield objectives, take out isolated units, offer some targeted support. So having that -2 to charge in this case is actually really good because you're going against things that are not going to be very fast. Whereas in other cases, like with Pathfinders, the -2 is going to be used against things that are fast, that are intending to charge you. So it's not as useful there because they're already going to be in a position where that 2 inches isn't going to make a difference. But here, they're not going to be in that position. So it's really important to have that -2. And we want to be able to leverage that in our weapon choices to really take advantage of that 2-inch freebie there. With the other 3 weapons, you have basically suboptimal choices compared to the burst can. So you have the phased ion gun. That would be good if it had more reliable shots. Basically, it's a 18-inch range, assault 2d3, strength 4, -1 AP, 1 damage, and then if you roll a 6 to hit, it's at -4 AP, which sounds really good, but you're still only getting 2d3 shots. So you're averaging 4 shots, meaning 2 hit, meaning 1 wounds against a Space Marine or something. So it's really not bringing a lot to the table. It would be a good weapon, it just doesn't have enough shots to actually translate into doing any type of damage. The fusion cascade is range 12, and that's really the worst thing about it. It's assault D3, strength 8, -4 AP, D6 damage, and then you have the standard fusion profile where if you're within 6 inches or within half range, you roll 2d6 and take the highest. So really, in order to use that, you have to be within 6 inches. You can't deep strike that close, not without a homing beacon, and it's just not a good range, right? Like if you're within 6 inches, your photon casters are useless, and if you're going to be deep striking something within 9 inches, it's probably going to be a fusion commander or a bunch of crisis suits or something, not just one hazard suit with 2 of these guys. So that's really a deal breaker for me. I just don't see any way to actually use this weapon effectively and not have it just die immediately. So yeah. And then the third option is the pulse submunition rifle, which is range 30, which is nice, but it's assault 2d3, strength 6, 0 AP, and then 1 damage. So it's like a bunch of pulse rifles, which, I mean, basically, is just like a lower rate of fire version of the double-barreled burst cannon. So it's trying to do the same thing the burst cannon's doing, but at longer range and less effectively. So it's just an inferior burst cannon option in my mind, especially because this guy is going to be deep striking anyway. We don't really care about that range that much. Leave it to the fire warriors. Yeah, so those are your weapon options. Now, you do have the option of taking a support system on top of that. We already talked about that a little bit, basically. You're going to want to stick with the burst cannons, and then you can either take the advanced targeting system to have -1 AP, which I think is a good standard option. However, if you're going to be taking these guys in units of multiple suits, so 2 suits or 3 suits, and you're taking drones with them, you might want to consider taking a drone controller on one of them. And it gives your drones better leverage. It gives them better accuracy, which is important. And you're only giving up 1 suit's worth of -1 AP. So, there's that. But I think typically, really what you want to do is take these guys as singletons, and that also means that you're not going to be taking drones with them, because even though you can take 4 drones, that's still 4 drones that are a really easy unit to wipe off the table, and that's the same issue that we have when you have a character that takes 2 drones. 4 drones still just is not enough to really stay around, so I wouldn't bother with it. So take it as a single suit, take it with the burst cannon option, take it with an advanced targeting system, and you're really getting a lot of shots out of that have a really good chance of doing some damage. So much so that the hazard suit is more efficient than a crisis commander with 4 burst cannons. So this guy does a better job than a commander with burst cannons would, just because it has such a high rate of fire and can take that support system without losing firepower, and those are critical. So really, I think these guys are an important part of the army when you're looking for something that does a lot of shots and has some AP to it. And that means that they conflict a little bit with Vespid in terms of their niche, but I think these guys actually do a better job than Vespid. They're more durable, they have some better options, and they are Battlesuits. So there's just a lot of good options here with these guys, and what that means for how to use them is, take a singleton, drop it in your Manta reserve, deep strike it to take out either like isolated units like artillery or something like that, or scouting units or characters that are exposed in the rear. Basically, you can drop this guy down behind and isolate characters from the rest of the army. And this guy will take care of a lot of different characters just because of the number of shots. And if you include the advanced targeting system, that -1 AP. So I think these guys are good. I would recommend taking 1 or 2 if you have the points or if you have access to them. They can be a good alternative to Fire Warriors if you are trying to do a battlesuit themed army or just don't want to take troops. This is a good alternative in terms of just getting a lot of shots out there. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've used hazard suits and they've worked out great or worked out poorly, I'd love to hear about it. Other than that, thanks for watching and happy wargaming.